First class is quiet in the way expensive rooms are quiet. All soft light and folded napkins. Seat 2A belongs to Leah Cross, who boards late after waiting for a young mom with a stroller. Her boarding pass is creased from a long day and the ink has smudged at the edges, but the seat number is clear. A platinum flyer in 3C decides it should be his. He tells the attendant that status outranks timing, and that upgrades are a game with winners and losers. The supervisor nods along, eager to please the loudest voice. Leah doesn't argue. She has learned that noise wins moments and loses respect. She breathes, steady and slow, and reaches up to settle her bag. As she does, the collar of her sweater shifts. Just below it, between shoulder blades, a small black trident rests. Against her skin, a quiet mark of a life most people never see. It is not a boast. It is a memory she carries for those who can't. A teenager in row 4 notices first and nudges his father. The father stares and then looks away, unsure of the rules for reverence. "Ma'am, please move to 18B so we can depart," the supervisor presses. One hand already on the armrest. Leah sets the bag down and remains standing, neither defiant nor yielding. Her silence unsettles the ritual. She holds out her boarding pass. The man in 3C chuckles and says the words that gather a storm. "She'll be fine back there." At that moment, the cockpit door opens. The captain steps out because of a paperwork hold that has delayed pushback. He is a tall man with the unhurried posture of someone who has flown long nights and short tempers. His eyes sweep the cabin out of habit, then snag on the trident. The precise lines of a unit tattoo he has seen, only a handful of times in his life, each time in rooms where voices were low and hands were steady. He freezes, not in fear, but in recognition. Leah lowers her shoulders, ready to accept whatever keeps arguments from spilling onto strangers. The captain clears his throat, and the cabin shifts toward him like a compass needle finding north. He asks a question that sounds like courtesy, but carries command. "Is there an issue with 2A? The supervisor opens his mouth with a practiced answer and finds it empty. The pilot's gaze is kind and unblinking. The moment holds. Long before this aisle and its thin carpet, Leah learned to listen to the sea. She trained where dawn smells like salt and rubber, and the body learns that cold is a teacher. Her world was made of charts, tide lines, and trust. Trust in the teammate on her left, in the tool in her hand, in the plan that changed 3 times before sunset. She memorized the shape of courage when it looks ordinary. She wrote letters in tiny print during meals, sealed them with a pressed thumb, and tucked them into pockets for later. Some were mailed. Some never were. She isn't the kind who lists medals or tells stories on airplanes. The trident tattoo is smaller than a thumbnail in lives, where she forgets it exists until the wind or a collar shifts. She keeps her hair long enough to hide it, and her voice low enough to pass in any crowd. After service, she took work nobody applauds, teaching water rescue to firefighters, patching holes in non-profit budgets, delivering meals on Fridays to a quiet street where names matter more than maps. Today's flight is not a vacation. She's headed to speak to a classroom because a friend's daughter asked her to explain what steady looks like when life gets loud. She plans to say simple things kids can hold, keep your promises, carry your friends, be useful. She carries a folded program for a memorial that marked a winter morning. On the back, a teammate wrote, "Honor moves quiet." She reads it whenever strangers mistake volume for value. The trident is not a ticket. It does not ask for free things or special seats. It asks only that she remember who she is when rooms forget. Leah learned long ago that most disrespect is not personal. It is a hurry that tramples care. So she makes space. She lets people pass. She chooses gentle when gentle is safe. And yet, some moments ask a different kind of strength, the strength to let truth stand in the open. The pilot, Captain Malik Anders, once flew above her world. He ferried teams through black weather and brought them home to light. He learned to read posture the way musicians read scores. He has seen the trident on skin at dawn and on stone at dusk. When he spots it now, something old and clear lifts inside him. It is not about glory. It is about duty, the small kind that fits between strangers and still matters. The supervisor tries to finish what he started. He speaks in policies and points to a tablet that doesn't show the whole story. The frequent flyer leans back with a smile meant to look harmless. A few passengers lower their eyes and pretend to scroll. The teenager in row 4 doesn't. He watches Leah's hands, the calm way they rest on the headrest, like she's ready to steady someone who is unsteady. Captain Anders steps closer. He asks to see the boarding passes, voice even, no edge. Leah offers hers. The ink is smudged, but the code scan's green and the seat is 2A. Purchased, assigned, perfect in its plainness. The captain hands it back with the kind of respect that doesn't need witness. He asks the supervisor for the other pass. It belongs to the man in 3C, upgraded 10 minutes ago when a standby slot opened. The captain nods once. The math is simple. A flight attendant named Priya stands near the galley, fingers tied around a coffee pot. She served in the coast, guard before this life, and knows that sometimes rooms need a nudge toward their better selves. She catches the captain's eye and the smallest exchange passes. I see it too. The plane hums while the paperwork hold clears. The supervisor senses the tide turning and tries a careful pivot, suggesting a courtesy swap to save time. Leah shakes her head gently, not unkind, just firm. She has spent years bending so others could move. She does not bend now. The captain doesn't raise his voice. He says the line that brings the whole cabin into the same air. A paid seat is a promise. Then softer, almost to himself, and some promises carry more than one person. He asks the man in 3C to remain in his assigned seat. The smile fades. Pride looks for a door and finds none. Murmurs skitter through the rows, but they aren't cruel this time. They're curious and a little grateful. The paperwork clears. The captain can return to the cockpit and leave the moment behind. He doesn't. He takes one small step, further into ownership of the room he's responsible for. He looks at Leah, not at the tattoo, and says, "Thank you for your patience." She nods. The trident, now hidden, might as well be carved into the quiet. Before takeoff, Captain Anders asks for a brief word. He doesn't name Leah or point to anyone. He speaks about respect like a safety briefing. He reminds the cabin that status doesn't outrank decency, and that every seat holds a story, even when you can't see it. He asks for a moment of silence, for anyone traveling after hard news or headed toward work that won't show up on social media. The cabin settles, and in that stillness the lesson lands. Priya kneels beside Leah and, with a small smile, slides a handwritten card onto the console. It offers nothing flashy, just a promise of tea on the house and a note that says, "You're seen." Across the aisle, the teenager who noticed the tattoo earlier mouths "Thank you." Not sure if she'll see it. She does. She tips 2 fingers in a tiny salute, a gesture that is more human than formal. The man in 3C clears his throat. When he speaks, his voice is smaller than his jacket. He apologizes to Leah and to the crew, and the apology is plain enough to be believed. He didn't know. Now he does. The supervisor, cheeks warm, offers to file the correction that should have been filed before boarding. He adds a second apology to the whole cabin, and it, too, finds a place to rest. Wheels lift, clouds part. The light through the window has that clean, high quality that makes everything below look simple. Leah accepts the tea. She doesn't ask for more. Captain Anders passes through the cabin once mid-flight, eyes on his people the way good leaders watch without hovering. As he returns to the cockpit, he leaves a challenge coin on the ledge near 2A. It isn't about rank. It's about a shared language of steadiness. On the coin's edge is a line he added years ago for himself. Honor does not shout. It stands. 3 quotes travel with viewers long after landing. A paid seat is a promise. Respect is free. Withhold it and it costs everyone. Status isn't rank, character is. When the plane touches down, Leah waits for others to deplane. She thanks the crew by name. At the gate, the teenager and her father linger. The father says his sister serves and that today mattered. Leah nods and says what she always says when thanks feels too heavy. Do good where you are. A small mark turned a crowded cabin into a kinder room, not because it demanded special treatment, but because it reminded people of the promises they already owed each other. One pilot chose principle over convenience. One crew member chose courage over silence. And one traveler let quiet truth stand until respect caught up. Share where you're watching from and the line that stayed with you. Tell us about a time a stranger's small act reset a room. Subscribe for more cinematic stories that honor steady courage, everyday grace, and the power of treating people like promises.